Greetings, ones and zeros, zeros and ones, boys and girls that are now men and women, kings and queens, gods and goddesses, spiritual beings of this divine matrix. Welcome. My name is Clay. For those who may have been here previously, and I had to check back off because I had a bit of an interruption. And I'm here again to finish what I was doing. Trustfully, those who are in the algorithmic frequency will find back the flow. Yes, definitely. Those who are in the algorithmic frequency will definitely find back the flow. And so I'm here. I'm going to pick up where I left off. I'm here transmuting in this full moon. And I was speaking on intimacy, and I will show the fire. I was speaking on intimacy, not only intimacy, but the effects that I was having, the effects that that I went through this full moon cycle, and I was talking about the intimacy and how the false self. I was giving away my power, my creativity, giving away my masculinity to the demon, giving it away to the false self. As I was giving away that to the false self, I was being burned in the fire. And as I was being burned in the fire, the demon was in heaven. The false self was in heaven. And I trust that anyone in the chat understands what it is that I am saying. And if you don't understand what I am saying, leave a comment or ask a question, and I will do my best to clarify that comment. And I'm accepting well-to-do comments, well-to-do hard comments. So let me repeat what I was saying just now. So as I go through the process of soul cleansing, one of the things that I'm seeing as I go through the process of soul cleansing is that there is the false self, there's the chaotic self, there's the egoic self. These are different terminologies that are synonymous. The demonic self, the false self, the egoic self. The self that is actually taking advantage of your soul. You are your worst own enemy. You are your worst own enemy. And as you are your worst own enemy, that aspect of you that is actually taking advantage of the self is the demonic self. Some would call it the egoic self, and some would call it the chaotic self. It is the false self. It is not the true self. It is not the self. It is the evil self, you could even say, right? So I was talking about, or I am talking about, my experience with that evil self as I transmute the chaos of the lack of intimacy with myself. There's a plane hovering or flying overhead as we speak. That is a symbol of gestation that is taking place, that is taking off. Let me turn this camera back around. So as I talk about my encounter with this false self, I had an issue where I noticed my masculinity being threatened, my creativity being threatened, my actions being threatened. Whenever I did something, I noticed it didn't feel good. Whenever I did something for myself, it didn't feel good for myself. Or even when I did something that I thought was good for someone else, they would say that it doesn't feel good to them. It's not a good thing that I'm doing. And in looking at that, I noticed that I'm being false, I'm being evil, I'm being chaotic. So in looking at that chaotic nature, Then I realized, hey, there is something that is intimately wrong with me. There is something that is intimately wrong with me, because in one eye, in one eye, I'm seeing that I'm doing something and I'm thinking that it is a good thing. However, I'm feeling that it is not a good thing. And being that the feeling nature is closer to divinity, I recognize that I have to go with my heart. So I started, um, what would you call it now? I start to check myself. I started to check my heart. And as I check my heart, I realized that, hey, I'm being fake. And I realized that I'm being fake because when I was younger, I picked up the guilt mechanism from my mother. I allowed my mother, my covert narcissist mother, to put that guilt mechanism on me. I allowed that as a child. And I realized I was doing something that I had never done for quite some time. But with this moon, as the full moon is rising to its, what do you call that? As the full moon is rising to its fullness, then so too are the emotions. And as the emotions rose, that is when I caught it. That is when I caught it. So that's when I saw the false self. I saw me being guilty. And as I was being guilty, I thought the guilt that I was feeling was pleasure. A lot of people right now, even in this chat, are taking pleasure from guilt. That's a knot in the sacral chakra. A lot of people are taking pleasure from guilt. Guilt is there to show you that you did something wrong, something is off. Guilt is a symptom of you doing something wrong. So I saw that my false self, the demonic self, the egoic self, was exposed for what it is. I was operating out of guilt. And as I was operating out of guilt, greetings from Thailand. As I was operating out of guilt, who is this in Thailand? This is a dog barks plane from Thailand. I'm in Florida speaking about spirituality, speaking about my soul's condition and finding the false identity in my soul, the false identity that was stealing my intimacy with myself and with others. So this persona, this guilt persona, this false identity, was using guilt. So I could never truly feel satisfied whenever I operated out of this false self. And let me take a moment here. And okay, I'll give you an example of the false self taking advantage. So the motherhood wound controls the guilt mechanism. And this past Father's Day, what they call Father's Day, which I call Divine Patriarch Day, this past Father's Day, I was feeling guilty for not contacting my father. Now, mind you, not contacting my father, who abandoned me at 4 years old. He abandoned me, he abandoned the family at 4 years old. However, since then, about 16 years later, after he abandoned me, I went to live with him in the same space. And as I went to live with him in the same space, I do know Thailand. Yes, I do know where Thailand is. As I went to live with him in the same space, let me show the fire again. As I went to live with my father in the same space, we developed some kind of a relationship. However, this past Father's Day, I realized that I was not contacting him and I was feeling guilty. As I was feeling guilty about that, I knew something was wrong. because I knew he had done something wrong. He had abandoned the family. So why should I feel guilty for not contacting him at this Father's Day? So then that's when an example of the false self showing up. That's when the false self showed up to show me that I'm being silly, I'm being stupid, I'm being foolish, because someone has done you something terrible and you're feeling guilty for not allowing that person to treat you terribly. And I trust that that is a good example. Now, as I'm saying, transmuting in this full moon, talking about intimacy, if I realize that if I don't know how to treat myself, I won't be able to treat anybody else good. If I treat myself pleasurefully out of guilt, then I realize that I was thinking that other people deserve for me to pleasure them out of guilt. And therefore, I want their guilt to pleasure me. So that receptacle or reciprocity kept going. And I did not want that to keep going. So I decided that I'm not going to do that anymore. And strangely enough, the moment I made that decision, that was the end of that false self. That was the death of that false self. The false self that presents itself to guilt people for pleasure. And thinking about it right now brings up sadness, brings up grief. It's as if I lost a close friend. It's as if I lost a close friend. And this goes to show you what familiarity does. Familiarity breeds contempt. So that is how I see myself being held in contempt for allowing the familiarity of guilt to pleasure me. Let me say that again. That is how I allowed the familiarity of guilt to pleasure me by holding me in contempt. And I vowed not to do this anymore. I vowed not to allow myself to guilt myself into thinking that pleasure comes from guilt. Pleasure does not come from fear. Pleasure does not come through the fear mechanism. Pleasure comes through accountability in love. Accountability can only be held in love. Anything else that looks like accountability, if it's not coming through love, then that is predatory lending. That is predatory accounting. And you're going to pay for it at some point. One way or the other, you will pay for it. So, anyone in the chat have any well-to-do comments, well-to-do questions? I'm here to answer them. It is a joy for me to answer, to relate to anyone in the chat who has these comments that wants to ask a question. That is a part of why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. So at this point, I'm going to flow in the spirit. I am here on earth to have this earthly experience. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And the past 6 years have been tumultuous. It's been up and down. And the only thing in my experience now that I can say definitively that keeps the predictability is the watching or the abiding by the tides of the moon. So I'm a moon man. You could say I'm M&M. I'm a moon man. And that moon man is watching his emotions as he watches the moon. Because the moon controls our tides. It shows our tides. It shows our emotions. If you notice, if you're familiar with the asylum, the crazy house, anything like that, and you can check it with any relationship that you have, during the full moon, you will notice that you behave more emotional. There is a full moon tonight. This is Kylie 3933. It's saying full moon tonight. Yes, it's a Capricorn full moon tonight. And as I was saying, the full moon, the tides rise, your emotional body raises. Not only your emotional body, and this is coming off 6 years of experience of watching it for myself. Not only the emotional body, the etheric body rises. And it doesn't only happen during the full moon, it happens during the new moon. The difference is that during the full moon, it's a more noticeable rise physically. It's a more noticeable rise physically. During the new moon, it's a more etheric rise because you're actually going deep in the darkness during the new moon. During the new moon, that's the dark moon, some would call it the dark moon. And when you experience these moons, if you take the time to investigate, right? You have an eye, and I'm saying to invest that eye into the gate of the new moon or the gate of the full moon. You have a new moon and a full moon aspect within you. So I'm saying invest that eye that you have and put it into the new moon. You will see that it will pay dividends. That is true accounting. That is true accounting. Now, another aspect of my journey that I'm learning from is the modality of travel. There are different modalities of travel, meaning there are different personalities that arise just like how you see the moon phases. So the most common moon phase that is known is the full moon. Now the next one is half moon, and the half moon is really a quarter moon. But when you look in the sky and you see half a moon and it looks like half a cake, half a circle, that's a half moon. So there's two half moons. There's a half moon on the waning. That's when it's going from full moon to new moon. That's the waning. And that half moon typically is going to be on the left hand side. And then there's a half moon on the waxing. That's when it's going from new moon to full moon. And that typically is going to be on your right hand side. So there's two different halves, right? So that goes to show you your different personalities that will arise. There's a personality that is going to be highlighted when you are in the half moon on the left, different from when you're on the half moon on the right. And I'm noticing these things without the shadow of a doubt. Each person has these personalities, and this full moon I was noticing it even more with my family. I have a partner and 4 daughters. Now, I noticed that we all become more emotional. The things that we like and the things that we dislike bother us more. In Jamaica, we would have said you become more miserable, right? Based upon the things where you like or based upon the things where you don't like. So I'll give you an example. One of the things that bothers me is that I like to keep a clear pathway in the house. So if someone leaves, let's say, a clothes basket, or let's say, okay, I like order to a certain degree. So let's say someone leaves something on the kitchen table. Um, During the full moon, that's not supposed to be there. Leave something on the kitchen table, that's not supposed to be there. During the full moon, that's going to bother me more than usual. And I've noticed this. Now, the good thing, okay, let me show the moon. I'm going to show the fire. There's the fire. The fire is still burning. Fire is burning, burning, burning. And there is the moon. There's the full moon. So, as I was saying, there she is. A beautiful full moon. There's an orb somewhere there. There's a green orb. And I accept that green orb as it is also the full moon. The full moon I take to be represented that whole day to be heart day. So I'm speaking from the heart right now. And I welcome that green orb. I don't know if you're seeing that green orb. If you are seeing that green orb, perhaps you can let me know by putting it in the chat. It would be beneficial to me and to others to know if that's a green orb. A slight light green as I zoom in. And there it is, I'm zooming out. And there it is. The orb is moving. And when I do this, the orb is right. Well, it's gone now. Nope. There it is right there. There's that orb right there. As I put it over and hide the moon, there's that orb. Well, that's a plane. There's the orb. Anyways, I was saying that, let me go back to the fire. I was saying that, okay, inner standing, overstanding says, I can see it. Give thanks for the confirmation. No, that green orb, there's no such thing as coincidence. No such thing as coincidence. So when I see those things, it's no accident. I don't believe in accidents. And the orb is showing me that I'm on point with what I'm talking about. And those who are here, there's 3 people in the chat right now, and that's creative completion. So as I was talking about the different personalities and the moon bringing the emotional state, and me telling you that one of the things that I do not like is when things are on the kitchen table that are not supposed to be on the kitchen table. When we're done eating, I would prefer to do the dishes. And oh, look at that. Look at that. Truth. When I'm done with the dishes, I want to see the table nice and orderly, clean. And if somebody comes and puts something there during the full moon, I'm more agitated. Now, what that tells me though is that there's a false identity somewhere. Because if I allow that emotional state to make me be little somebody else, so if I belittle that other person for leaving that there, then I am the one who's actually belittling myself. Because there's no way that something on a kitchen table should threaten my personality to that degree. That means there's something there. There's an aspect of me that is communicating with me, Ashe. There's an aspect of me that is communicating with me as I see those sparks. And I'm wanting that intimate aspect of me to come to the forefront. So right now I'm saying to that intimate aspect of me to come to the forefront. And it is telling inner standing, overstanding that it is a joy to see them here. It really is a joy to see them here, because it means that we are on a similar frequency as it relates to life flow, you know? And it is good to be intimate with self as it is good to be intimate outside of self. There's an intrapersonal intimacy and interpersonal intimacy, right? And I'm sharing this with at least 2 people in the chat right now, that according to YouTube. And trustfully, more people will see this as I spread the truth of my existence and allow people to see the vulnerability of this Rasta man, right? Of this cosmic being. I'm a spiritual being having a spiritual experience. And as a spiritual being having a spiritual experience, a spiritual being having a human experience, I'm sharing it with the world. I'm sharing it with those who align themselves with YouTube. So, to close out that point, what I'm saying is, when you find yourself being emotional on the full moon about something, it's an opportunity to get in tune with an aspect of yourself that you were never in tune with before. It's an aspect of self that is behaving falsely. Emotionality, nothing wrong with passion. Don't confuse passion with emotionality. Emotionality is a perverted form of passion. So if you find yourself happy, okay, that's good that you find yourself happy. Is it true happiness? Is it the type of happiness that comes through the love frequency? Or is it the type of happiness that is fake and comes through the fear frequency? Right? Only you can tell, or correction, not only you can tell, and so too someone else who is in the love frequency. Right? So in this age of Aquarius, nothing is secret, nothing is hidden. Even if it is to be kept and held as a secret, there are others who know of it and simply choose to respect the secrecy of it. Let me say that again, because that felt good even to my soul. In the age of Aquarius, nothing, absolutely nothing, is a secret. It is a secret only because the ones who see the truth of the secret chooses to respect the necessity for it or of it to remain a secret. So a secret, for example, is interpersonal and intrapersonal. So in discovering my own secret, right, that's an intrapersonal aspect. In discovering my own secret, I recognize that there was a false self that I was not paying attention to. There was a false self that I was not killing the ego of that false self. I was not willing to die egoically. And this full moon, I did become willing to die to own that intrapersonal secret that I am a spiritual being having a human experience. I'm a soul man. I'm a Rasta man. I'm a black man. I'm a son. I'm a father. I'm a partner. I'm a brother. I'm a friend. I'm a human. I have my humanity intact. Looking at people who do not have their humanity intact. Looking at other men and women who are animals, behaving as if they are animals. Correction. Because they are not animals, they are behaving as if they're animals. Not because you're in an animal suit means that you are an animal. You have a soul, you have a conscience. And I am seeing that it is the soul that makes the being. It is not the body, it is not the flesh that makes the being. So, not because you feed the poor means that you are not a bad person. You're not a bad person because you have a good soul. Then and only then. And that is the soul in response to the good spirit. Because you have bad souls and you have bad spirits. That is true in a standing overstanding. You have good souls, you have bad souls. You have good spirits, you have bad spirits. And these good spirits in good soul operate good bodies and do not behave as if they are animals. And I should say, I am going to say, some of them behave as if they are less than animals, because the animals have an animal code that they behave according to. The animals have souls, the animals have spirits. So good spirits in good souls in animals, for example a dog, behave as if it's a dog. That's a good dog. So you have people out there who are behaving less than animals. And I'm going to give you an example. You have people out there who do not know that a penis for procreation goes into a vagina. That is behaving less than the animals. The animals have been in tune with this truth and they behave animalistic. They behave according to seasons. Humans have the free will to step outside of seasons. And the people who have perverted this behavior choose to perform this sodomatic or Sodom act, this act of sodomy. They choose to perform this act of sodomy, which makes them behave less than animals. Animals, when they behave in that way, are behaving animalistically. And that is their way of handling the chaos in their psyche, in their computing system, in their hearts. They have been corrupt. And humans that have been corrupt behave less than the animals. Behave less than those animals. And that is a reality that I am seeing in this full moon. Right? That is a reality. And another aspect that I am learning to do is to laugh. Or as my spirit put it to my soul, not just laugh. Find the humor, because you don't have to laugh to have humor. Find the humor in the situation and use it as armor. Because come on now, let's be serious. Let's be real. Let's be very truthful. You do not get more perverted than being a homosexual. You just don't. And I'm saying that with love. It's not something that I'm saying to belittle anyone. It's something that I'm saying to speak the truth on the matter. As I speak the truth on this matter, I see wherein homosexuality is simply the extreme of a perversion. For example, someone makes the mistake of having hot oil on the stove. And as they have hot oil on the stove, they have two stoves. They have one stove, not two stoves, two pots on the stove. You have a pot with hot oil. Say, for example, you were going to fry some dumpling, and then you have a pot hot, ready to receive some water. And you take the water and you put it in the hot oil. It's going to explode on you. That's a perversion. You had a perverted thought. You made a mistake, and it's going to cost you. Because depending on how hot that situation is, it may be very scarring. And that is an example of a perversion. And homosexuality is the same thing. The difference is that this person keeps putting the hot water in the hot oil according to their sexual desires. So now they've become the extreme of the perversion. And it can be very scarring. Now, Spirit led me there because this is a Capricorn full moon. And in the Capricorn full moon, Capricorn is represented by the goat. The goat? The sea goat. Is it the sea goat? I'm not so sure. Yes, the goat climbing the hill. And this is the man and beast relationship. The man and beast relationship must be kept in its order. Men do not behave as if they are animals. So Kylie 393 is asking, how is homosexuality similar to an exploding pot if it makes a person happy? Well, you see, happiness, as I was saying earlier on, happiness is a state of mind, and it can be had in truth and it can be had in fear. It can be had in love and it can be had in fear. So when a person puts the water in a pot that has oil, and knowing that it is hot, and when you put water and hot oil, it's going to explode, that is a perverted thought. You are going to make a mistake. It's going to cost you. It's going to be scarring. It's going to explode, and there's going to be damages. Versus if you have a pot that's ready and waiting hot to receive the water, and you put it in that appropriate pot, then that is the appropriated pot. In this case, the appropriated pot that is waiting hot and ready is the vagina. That is a move made in love order. The other one is made in the order of fear, because there's a perversion there. So happiness is not the hallmark of how how or when to do things. Because a person, I'm sure you've seen many insane people who behave happy. Well, let me not put that on you. My apologies for saying you have seen. I have seen many insane people behave happy. It doesn't mean that they are truly happy because they're operating out of fear. I myself have done this. I have the experience of behaving happy. I have the experience of watching porn, for example, and having a happy feeling. Now, as a more mature being, I see that, hey, that was terrible. Do I forget the feeling that I had when I was having it? No, I don't forget it. Because that feeling, it felt happy. It felt happy as I was watching those scenes and doing what I was doing. The only difference is that now that I realize that that was not a good thing, I can detect the guilt in it. And as I detect the guilt, I know that there's something wrong. The symptom of something wrong is you have many symptoms. You have guilt, you have shame, you have grief, you have lies, you have illusions and delusions, you have egoic attachments. These are some of the reasons why or some of the symptoms of something done wrong. And again, it is not to be held in contempt. It is for you to see that, hey, I did something wrong and to correct the behavior. Some behaviors are easier to correct than others. Trustfully, that explanation helps. As I speak the truth and as you receive the truth. As I receive the truth in my own soul and I'm forthright with what it is that I am saying. Ashe. Inner standing, overstanding gives a thumbs up. Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks, give thanks. Inner standing, overstanding, understanding. I love that name. I'm working on my understanding of many things. I understand and overstand many things. The understanding aspect of things tends to be challenging. Now, I've been here for 43 minutes and I am going to, unless someone has a question, I'm going to sit here for about 30 seconds and breathe and welcome this new aspect of myself and acknowledge the witnesses that I have here and give thanks for them. And then I'm going to disconnect this portal. Ashe and amen. Ashe and amen. Have a beautiful night to all.